I walked out that morning, coffee in hand. I thought it'd be just another quiet Sunday. Birds were chirping, sprinklers were hissing, and the air smelled like cut grass. But then I saw it. A brand new metal fence, cutting right across my driveway like a scar through the earth. And nailed to it, flapping in the wind, was a bright orange notice that read, "Violation Unauthorized Access Point, HOA Regulation 14B. For a second, I just stood there, blinking. Then it hit me. The Homeowners Association, the same people who fined me, $50 last month for a non-compliant mailbox color, had actually built a fence on my property. I walked up to it, ran my hand along the cold steel, and felt something deep in my gut twist. My driveway, my own damn driveway, was blocked. I marched straight to the HOA president's house. Nancy Carter. If you've ever met someone who thinks running a neighborhood is the same as running a country, that's Nancy. She opened her door with her usual perfect smile and pearls. "Good morning, Mr. Cooper," she said, voice as sugary as poison. "What brings you here?" "What brings me here?" I snapped. "The fence across my driveway." "What the hell is that?" Her smile didn't fade. "It's for safety. The board agreed the corner access is too risky for community traffic. We're maintaining consistency." "Consistency?" I held up the notice. "You built a wall on my land." "Technically," she said, folding her arms, "that area is part of the community's easement. You'll have to submit a formal complaint for review. Until then, the fence stays." That's when I realized something. This wasn't about safety. It was about control. Nancy and her little HOA army weren't protecting the neighborhood. They were building their kingdom one rule at a time. I spent that night sitting on my porch staring at the fence. It gleamed under the streetlight, mocking me. My neighbors passed by, whispering, pretending not to look. Every car that turned the corner had to slow down because of the fence. And I could almost hear Nancy's smug voice in my head. Neighborhood consistency. But I wasn't about to roll over. By sunrise, I was on the phone with a land surveyor, then a lawyer, then a contractor. If they wanted a fight, I'd give them one, by the book. A week later, while Nancy and the other board members gathered for their morning walk, a big yellow bulldozer rumbled up to my curb. I walked out front just as Nancy came running down the sidewalk, hair in rollers and slippers flapping. "Mark, what on earth are you doing?" I handed her a folder, my official deed and property survey. "Just fixing what's mine." Her eyes widened. "You can't do this!" "Oh, I can," I said with a grin. "And I'm not just fixing my driveway." I turned to the bulldozer driver. "Let's close their road." The engine roared, and the neighborhood war began. The roar of the bulldozer echoed through Maplewood like thunder. Dust kicked up as the machine tore through. The asphalt, carving a deep trench right where the HOA's community road met my property line. Neighbors came pouring out of their homes, phones in hand, filming like it was some suburban apocalypse. I didn't care. Every crunch of the metal blade against the pavement felt like justice. Nancy was shouting over the noise, her voice sharp and shrill. "You can't just destroy community property." I turned to her calmly, wiping sweat from my brow. "That's the thing, Nancy. It's not community property. You've been using my land as your shortcut for years. That road, it's on my deed." Her face drained of color. "You're bluffing." "Call the county office," I said, pulling out a folded paper. "Or better yet, ask your lawyer." "I already did." She snatched the paper, scanned it, and for the first time since I'd moved here, I saw it, the flicker of fear behind her perfect smile. That evening, they called an emergency HOA meeting. Every homeowner was there. The community center buzzed with tension. I stood in front of them all, arms crossed, the villain in their little suburban soap opera. Nancy took the mic. "Mr. Cooper has taken extreme measures against the community. His actions are destructive, selfish, and in violation of several HOA bylaws." I could hear the murmurs ripple through the crowd. When she was done, I walked up to the mic. "You all remember when the HOA fined me because my grass was 2 inches too long? When they made the Johnsons repaint their house because the beige was too creamy? Or when they banned kids from riding bikes on the sidewalks? That's not community. That's control." I paused. The room was silent except for the hum of the AC. "You all thought the HOA owned this neighborhood. But here's the truth. They don't even own the ground under your feet. You do. Every single one of you. But they've been using your fear of fines to make you forget that. Nancy tried to interrupt, but the crowd was shifting. People whispered, nodded. Some looked angry, but not at me. So yeah, I said. I closed their road. Because they crossed my line first. Someone clapped. Then another. Soon the whole room was buzzing. Not with hate, but realization. That night, my phone exploded with messages. Some called me a hero. Others said I'd gone too far. But the one that stuck came from my next-door neighbor, Eli, a quiet old man who never said much. He texted, "You didn't just close a road, Mark. You opened people's eyes." I smiled at that. Maybe he was right. But I knew Nancy wasn't done. The next morning, I got a letter, hand-delivered, sealed with the HOA logo. Cease and desist. Pending legal action. The war for Maplewood had just begun. The legal notice sat on my kitchen counter for 2 days. Cease and desist. Pending legal action. Every time I walked past it, I felt that old anger boil back up. The same anger that had built the fence war in the first place. But beneath it was something heavier. Doubt. Maybe I'd gone too far. I sat on the porch that evening, the air thick with the smell of rain and asphalt. Across the street, the trench where the HOA's road used to be sat quiet and empty. For the first time in years, there were no cars cutting through my corner. Just silence. Then Eli, my elderly neighbor, came walking up the sidewalk. He moved slow, cane tapping against the curb. "Evening, Mark," he said. "Hey, Eli." He looked at the trench and chuckled. "You really did it, huh?" I nodded. "Guess so." He sat down beside me. "You know, back in the day, neighborhoods weren't about fences and fines. We looked out for each other. Shared tools, barbecues, even problems." I looked down. "Yeah, well, times changed." "Sure," he said, "but people don't. They just forget who they are when someone tells them how to live." We sat in silence for a while, listening to the wind. Then Eli said, "Nancy's not happy, but I think you made her realize something." I raised an eyebrow. "What's that?" "That power doesn't come from rules. It comes from respect." He patted my shoulder and walked home, leaving me staring at the dark street. His words stuck with me. The next morning, I did something I never thought I'd do. I showed up at the HOA office. Nancy was there, behind her desk, still looking like she'd swallowed a lemon. "What do you want, Mark?" She sighed. "I'm not here to fight," I said, holding out a document. "I'll reopen the road. But under one condition, we rewrite the rules, together." She blinked. "Rewrite the rules?" "Yeah, no more fines for mailbox colors. No more bullying homeowners for nonsense. We make it about keeping the place safe and neighborly, not controlled." For a long moment, she just stared at me. Then slowly, she nodded. "You're serious?" "Dead serious." That was the moment something shifted. For once, Nancy didn't look like the queen of the HOA. She looked human, tired, maybe even relieved. A month later, Maplewood looked different. The road was open again. Kids were riding bikes. Neighbors were talking, laughing, waving. The fences, both literal and invisible, were coming down. As for me, I built a small wooden sign by the corner of my lot. It read, "Respect boundaries. Build bridges." Sometimes people stop and take pictures of it. Others just nod when they pass. Eli says it's a reminder that a neighborhood isn't built from rules or fences, but from people who care enough to do what's right. And he's right. Because in the end, I didn't just buy a corner lot. I bought a chance to teach everyone, including myself, what it really means to be a neighbor.